and we've all enjoyed 3 days of magic, and I think we recognize that it's really magic that's happened here. Kenya is really a special place. Not because this is the region where humanity emerged 200,000 years ago. And for those of you who are wondering, no, I wasn't around then. But it's also because Africa is helping to define where humanity is going, using technology wisely to solve the pressing problems that we face. In this room, we have doers, we have thinkers, we have dreamers who are driving this change. And I really want to thank you. Over the last 3 days, you've shared your insights and your experiences. And this, frankly, has become so much more than a digital health meeting, because we've been discussing equity, gender, child and maternal health, mental health, climate change, and cross-cutting issues like financing and human rights. And so for all of us in this room, this meeting is more than just digital. It's about confronting injustice and inequity in health and doing something about it together. So I know many of us will be sitting for many hours later tonight in metal tubes as we cross oceans to go back to our homes. And WHO officially says that sitting is the new smoking. So I'm going to ask you to just stand up for me for 1 second. Stand up and look around at the people around you. Look left, look right, look behind you. Is there someone you don't know? Just reach out and say hi to that person. If there's someone you don't know, reach out, say hi. All right? Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and sit back down. I've inserted a bit of chaos into this. So go ahead and sit back down. That's great. You've gotten your adrenaline going, and you've got your epinephrine going for meeting new people. According to the hotel, this room holds 800 people. But what if all the people you see here today, the smiling faces you just met in the last few seconds, were not alive tomorrow? This is the case for family and friends of the 800 women around the world who die every day from preventable causes related to pregnancy and childbirth in 2024. 2024. Let that sink in for a minute. Preventable causes every day. So for 3 days, we've enjoyed amazing food in well air-conditioned and well-lit rooms with strong and reliable internet connectivity. And for many people around the world, including here in Kenya, we may as well be on another planet. 1.2 billion people without access to electricity, 2.2 billion without access to clean water, and 2.6 billion people disconnected. So these are the sobering statistics that are, for us, the antidote to hype. But despite that, we should still leave this meeting filled with hope and with refreshed spirits, celebrating that this GDHF milestone of being held in the global south. It feels grounded, it feels pragmatic, and it's not dwelling in the promises or the possibility of what could be, but it's bringing out the hard questions of, should we do digital and AI just because we can? That came up in a number of side panels. Can we recommend digital or AI given limited resources, infrastructure, and governance? And most importantly, what I heard over and over again was, are we building for others or are we building with them? And ideally, helping everyone build for themselves. And many of us who've been working in this field for 10 or 20 years, we have to celebrate the achievements that we've made. We've come a long way. We have WHO guidelines on best practices for digital health investments. 129 countries have digital health strategies. We have national digital health transformation agencies, many of whom are here in the room today. And together, we have launched a global initiative on digital health. Investments in this space are growing, and universities, many of whom are here as well, have degrees in digital health. But we have to admit that we are far from achieving the goals that we set for ourselves. The pandemic showed us many ways in which the promise of digital health fell short. Studies have shown that digital failures were as much human as they were technical. There were laws, there were proprietary systems, there was a lack of trust in the privacy and the technology that all contributed to our inability to use digital in the way that we thought we could have. We didn't have the local infrastructure and standards in many countries to allow digital solutions to pivot and serve the need of the hour. So changing course requires prioritizing health systems and addressing disparities in access to care and services, especially for vulnerable populations. It means addressing gender inequities. It means ensuring accessibility for people living with disabilities. So how do we move forward? Faster. And can we move forward? I think the answer is yes. Smisha Agarwal at Johns Hopkins University at the first day opening ceremony said the following: health has to be at the center of what we do. Digital is a means to strengthen how we deliver health for all. But we have to do better in thinking across sectors, learning from what drove digital transformation in banking and in transportation. We're in the home of M-Pesa, one of the revolutions that has changed the world with regards to financial inclusion in Africa and beyond. We need to engage with the broader global health discourse. Despite the fact that we talk a lot about silos, we can do better in talking to and including health systems, health financing, and health policy experts in these discussions. We've learned at least one important lesson that we see countries around the globe investing in. We just had a session 15 minutes ago about country-led digital transformation. And it is, you cannot build skyscrapers without deep and robust foundations. Countries like Ethiopia and Indonesia are investing in governance, in policy, and legislation to reduce fragmentation, both in digital and now in AI. Kenya was the first mover in Africa to launch a national digital health agency to serve as the custodians of their digital transformation journey. USAID, the Gates Foundation, governments, the World Bank, and WHO, among many others, agree that without digital public infrastructure, we'll continue to see failed investments and limited scale-up of really, really great ideas. DPIs, if you haven't learned that term this week, that's the term you should be leaving with. DPIs are the roads and highways of the global digital health future. And this is a lesson we've learned from other sectors, where we stop building siloed systems, but invest in digital commons that are maintained by government or their agencies and assured for quality that everyone can rely on. And that creates an environment where interoperability doesn't just become a word we all use, but it becomes practical, it becomes implementable, and we gain efficiencies of scale for everyone. And what's most exciting is we unlock the possibility of local production and entrepreneurship that will allow this ecosystem to thrive. So earlier this week, many of us were part of the first ever Open Digital Health Summit hosted by the government of Kenya here in Nairobi. The aim of this summit was to build capacity locally across 50 countries in interoperability standards and architecture. Or as my brother Phil Nisingemana, the Chief Digital Health Advisor at Africa CDC, said, we're putting Africa on fire. And putting Africa and the world on fire refers to a change in mindset. We need to move from thinking in silos to action by architecture. And each of us has a part to play in either building with or contributing to those fundamental Lego blocks. So the world today is very different from where we were 10, 12, 15 years ago, which is why I'm excited to leave this room today after the end of this session filled with optimism. And I hope you feel this way too, because 3 important things have changed that are up here. Number 1, demand. People have seen what digital can do in other sectors, and they expect more from health across every country that we come from. Let me ask, where are my Kenyan and Tanzanian brothers and sisters in the room? Raise your hands for a second. Okay, can we take away your M-Pesa? That was not convincing. Can we take it away? What if we stop it tomorrow? No. You know, we expect our phones, we expect our digital systems to improve the way we access health, much in the way that it has enabled us to access financial freedom. Number two, political will. 129 countries have a digital health strategy. They have policies and legislation to encourage digital health investments. The Global Digital Health Compact, if you haven't seen it yet, is the first time 194 countries have come together to ratify an international compact around digital transformation. And this is a global commitment to interoperability, to open source data, models, standards, and good governance. And the third and most important piece of the stool is standards and building block. We now have open, robust standards and agile building blocks that governments can use and partners can employ to define an architecture that is affordable, capable of stimulating person-centered digital ecosystems. So together with the ITU, WHO, and others, we're developing a reference architecture based on DPIs for national digital health transformation. The World Bank, where are my World Bank colleagues? Right here. Yesterday released a blueprint which will help us cost and budget this transformation. We just launched a new digital health atlas yesterday, empowering all of you in the room to document what you're doing, where, and how to improve knowledge sharing. When we put people at the center of what we do, and we've been saying this for 25 years, when we're driven by science, when we attenuate the hype, policymakers today are allergic to hype, and they want to see data. They want to see results. Our colleague from Kenya just a few minutes ago made a beautiful statement about the proof is in the pudding. Why do we invest in digital? It's because we can show that it has an impact. It's great when you get a Zoom call in the middle of your talk. I think what we have to make sure we deliver on what we promise, and that's really critical to governments and to people. That's how we build trust. It's easy to get sucked into this vortex of unbridled enthusiasm, and you have to resist that urge. It happens to me all the time. I'm not immunized against it, and my team constantly reminds me to take it down a notch so that we are representing things based on evidence and science. But I think we are also at an inflection point. What is that inflection point? It is where technologies can dramatically increase the democratization of access to services and data, or it can rapidly expand the chasm of inequity that exists today in our health systems and in populations around the world. So we have asks to the development partners: help us align around country priorities and fund governance and architecture. We have to put money behind these theories. Implementers, share the work you're doing, but use standards when you're building new things. And academia, I know you're out there. Help us measure better so that we can say with confidence what works and what doesn't work, and show that these investments are having an impact. That's what changes the minds of ministries of finance and of policymakers everywhere. 3 years ago, almost to the day, I lost my father to COVID because a digital algorithm failed to prioritize the most vulnerable. We have to harness this outrage that we all should have, that during the COVID pandemic, 7,076,329 people lost their lives to a virus against which we have a highly effective vaccine. Many of these deaths occurred because we could not get proven solutions like vaccines and oxygen to those who needed it when it mattered the most. Digital should have delivered more than it did. And it did deliver where there were solid foundations. The future of global health, frankly, is in our hands. And together we can rewrite the story for the 800 women losing their lives every day and the millions of others. Asante sana, and thank you very much.